Hey there, I'm Devin Townsend. Hey there everyone, this is Devin Townsend and I'm reporting to you live from the Dev Lab, my little basement that I've dubbed the Dev Lab, which is my studio now. I'd like to go over a couple things with you in the next couple of minutes, specifically the rig that I'm using, the guitars, and most importantly for this particular segment, the cables and strings, using Planet Waves cables and D'Addario strings. The guitars that I'm using for this demonstration are ESP guitars, and this one is a Telecaster model with EMG 81 pickups in it. The tuning that I use and have used since I first started guitar at about the age of 8 is open C major, which is from the lowest string, C, G, C, G, C, E. Led Zeppelin, off Led Zeppelin 3. Friends, you know that one. Anyway, I'm using Mesa Boogie amplifiers and a bunch of crazy outboard gear because I'm all obsessed about the echoes, and you know, that ain't gonna change anytime soon. So I'll give a couple of examples of what I've been doing with Strapping and Lad, my own solo stuff, as well as a couple of tasteless wank licks and some widdly solo stuff that ought to appease the guitar nerd and at least me for the time being, and I hope you enjoy it. Planet Waves cables, ladies and gentlemen. They are great. I plugged them into my guitar, and the first thing I noticed is that my whole rig sounded better. Something to do with the type of metal they use and the fact that it's got the spring system in the attachment here, so it keeps it locked into your guitar. And I think it's like a gold or something they use, or a brass or something, but it's a noticeable difference. And I'm in the process of setting my rig up entirely with these cables, and it might be subtle, it might be something that's going on strictly in my brain, but I honestly feel like it makes my rig sound better. It sounds crisper, it sounds tighter, and they look great too. Yeah, they're black and ergonomic and just spiffy. So yeah, if you guys are considering getting yourself a cable and you got monster cables and you got all these other ones you want to get, look at Planet Waves because they're fairly affordable and they sound excellent. Okay, so let's talk about strings for a minute here. The first strings that I ever bought were actually D'Addario, and after brief flings with other string companies, I talked to the fine folks at D'Addario, and they hooked me up with an endorsement. Lucky me. And yeah, I mean, basically, there's certain things about these strings that I find really endearing. They've got a smooth quality to them that I don't find with most other strings. They don't feel inconsistent, they don't feel rough, and it's got a real kind of glassy feel to them when I first put them on the guitar. And they last a long time, and with normal playing, I mean, I do pick fairly hard, but they tend to last. And I went through a bunch of different gauges. In the 80s, I was rocking the 8 and 9 gauge strings when I was trying to be Johnny Flash, and ended up breaking a lot of them. And I found that when you start playing on a bigger stage, the pitch doesn't really translate when they're too light. So after going through 12 gauge and then up to 13 gauge and back down to 11, I found that the best happy medium was 10 through 52, because for this particular tuning, when I'm down to a G or to a C, they're heavy enough to maintain their tune at a high volume level, yet they still crunch. It's like if the gauge becomes too heavy, if your low string is too thick, I find that it doesn't have the same sound when you're picking the lower strings. It tends to get a little woofy. So 10 through 52 is a good happy medium for me, between the lighter top of the 10 and the heavier bottom of the 11. So there you go. D'Addario strings, everybody. If you have a choice to make, choose D'Addario. We're on to the 7 string now. This is tuned the same with the open C there, but with a drop G. So basically it's all fifths except for the high E string. G, C, G, C, G, C, E. Hooray! Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of the song Wrong Side off the new strapping record, The New Black. Ironically enough, a new black guitar. Mesa Boogie, best amp in the world, in my opinion, and a humble one at that. I'm using 2 together here. Dual rectifier for the low end kind of chunky chunk metal stuff, and a stiletto for more filling in the mid-range. I've got the dual rectifier with EL34 tubes in it, and both of these heads are running through a Maxon OD808 distortion pedal, little green bastard that tightens it up and compresses it in a way that I personally think is really cool. Okay, so here's the other part of the equation. I've got a big kind of 80s hair metal rack that I roll as well, because I'm not one for subtlety. And what I basically do is I go into the rack. I split my guitar signal into 3 separate paths. One of them goes to the dual rectifier, the other one goes to the stiletto, and this third one goes to this GP100, which runs through this stereo graphic equalizer and then into this stereo power amp. The effects go to 2 separate cabinets so it doesn't interfere with the dry sound of the heads. The rest of the rack consists of a Furman power module, which is basically a glorified power bar, and that has a tuner consistently running to it. The JD7 splitter box, which, if I didn't mention before, is great because it has a ground lift and a phase reverse on each one of the channels, so it can avoid the nasty kind of noises that generally comes from splitting your signal up. For my more subtle effects, I've got this TC Electronics G-Force, which is more of the reverbs and subtle echoes and choruses and all that sort of schmutz. And the last thing I got running is this GCX, which is like a version of like the Bob Bradshaw switching system, and it has a foot pedal that goes along with it. And that allows me to sort of change channels on all the heads and all the amps and do everything with one button as opposed to having to tap dance through a lot of pedals. I only have 2 pedals that I use. Keeps it simple. You've got the switching board, obviously, but in terms of pedals, the Morley Bad Horsey wah. I like this wah because it's got a good frequency range that it incorporates, and it's an optical one. So when you hit it, it turns off and on without actually having to switch a button. And then a tuner pedal that I use for more immediate stage tuning and muting my whole rig. And it's made by Planet Waves as well. And this is a new product of theirs, and it's really cool. The company that I use for picks is called In Tune Guitar Picks. The guy's name is Bert. He's really cool. I use these big pizza slices here. Big triangular picks. You can see this. Got the white one and the black one. Oh yeah. Little yin, little yang. And they're fairly heavy. I think they're about 72.72 millimeters. About the same as the green Dunlops. But I like these big triangles because they last a long time, and you can hold it like you're sawing away at your guitar with a big old chunk of wood as opposed to a subtle little pick. Again, subtlety is not my strong suit, so bigger the better. I certainly do not profess to be the greatest guitar player in the world, God knows. I think as a musician, you should practice your technique to be as good as you need to be to facilitate whatever ideas come into your head. That being said though, I have to admit I probably didn't get laid very much in high school because I was obsessed with playing fast. So I'm going to do a little shred section for you here, and for those of you who are better at this than I am, suck it. Okay, that sort of concludes this demonstration of what makes the guitar part of Heavy Devy Land tick. So I'd like to thank you very much for paying such close, rapt attention, as I'm sure you did. And until next time, this bald old bastard would like to thank D'Addario, Planet Waves, Mesa Boogie, ESP In Tune, as well as anybody else who happens to give me stuff. I'm a whore. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You know what else? I suck dick for